One of the most hilarious storylines I've ever heard of. As if things were already bad for WCW, they decided to have a storyline where Kevin Nash was hit by a Hummer. This was fine and all, but it dragged and the driver wasn't exactly revealed outright. To this very day, many people make fun of the storyline for not being well thought out, for having nobody as a driver, and just a case of LOL WCW. What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. I thought it's time we do another WCW video because, well, it's been a while. How are you guys in that area? I was actually intending to do Samoa Joe's undefeated streak, from TNA, but I couldn't get it done. I decided, let's finish this video. That said, let's get into it. Set the stage, let me explain a few things. WCW was something else in 1999. They lost their train of thought in a way and were scrambling to right the ship. They changed the layout of Nitro. On screen, a lot was different. The Macho Man Randy Savage developed a new character who was off the charts in intensity. He had these three women by his side, Medusa, Gorgeous George, and Miss Madness, and he was truly insane. This man always came out like he snorted something and was full of anger. He randomly interfered in Kevin Nash's title match against DDP at Slamboree, and he was always trying to protect DDP, which was confusing the commentary team at the time. Eric Bischoff, who wasn't empowered, demanded the ref restart this match, and this led to Kevin Nash capturing the WCW title once again. Controversial finish with Bischoff restarting things, and this was addressed on the May 17, 1999 episode of Nitro by the president of WCW, Ric Flair. The title reign was confirmed, and the Nature Boy announced that Big Sexy was facing Diamond Dallas Page tonight. Savage, meanwhile, was seething and still wanted a title match, and he demanded the commissioner give him a title shot, but that didn't happen, and instead Piper took a crutch shot and a pile driver, whereas Bischoff received, well, he received nothing because the world champion was here. Since he was here, Savage challenged him to put up the title tonight. Hell, he even called him a geek, and if that wasn't bad enough, Savage suggested that Nash hand it to him like he did in Georgia. He responded saying that last time was a political move, but here, he's got to pry out of his dead hands, and as expected, he interfered later that night in Nash's match. He was triple teamed by Bam Bam and DDP, and they overwhelmed him. The Macho Man proceeded to take it a step further by putting on some lipstick in the champ's face, and the most WCW thing happens when a fan interferes, and Savage showed him that these hands are E for everyone. He concluded the assault with the elbow, and this man was losing it. This caught the stuff Buff Bagwell's attention, and he unintelligently asked for a match against the Macho Man. This was a stupid idea because not only did Bagwell take a beating, but he almost got his neck broken again. Nash grew angry with how Savage went about things and wanted the title match, and Flair confirmed the match for the Bash and started going on a tirade about Savage's path of destruction. Oh, and apparently the elbow was banned during the match. Nash addressed this later that week and spoke about Randy's chaotic past few weeks. The Macho Man didn't even allow him to finish. Well, actually, it was his ladies who interrupted, and the champion poked insults towards Medusa's way and trashed her wrestling, saying he'd rather see her box. Damn. They attack, leading to Savage making a run-in and smear lipstick in his face once again. Macho Madness once again put the whooping on Bagwell along with his ladies, as if that's a shocker, and abruptly from out of nowhere, Kevin Nash refused to wait until the Great American Bash. He wanted the match tonight. Savage was more than hyped and was extremely confident about his chances. All of a sudden, Medusa ran in and informed him that Big Sexy was here. About that match, yeah, it was a big joke. Each woman got a chance to attack, and Savage put in zero effort. He was having a little too much fun, and because of this, let his guard down a while later. Kevin Nash eventually came in with a sewage truck and laid the hose down. They were left dirtier than a mid-card heel, so the Macho Man was ready to return the favor on Nitro. It wasn't even about the title at this point, it was personal. Since the champion wasn't in the arena, Randy Savage asked for anybody to come out, and it was a stinger. He promised to drop some conditioner on Sting's head. At the same time, Nash finally arrived. He responded to Savage's claims of making him look ridiculous, saying he clearly hasn't saw himself in the mirror, and there he was. The Macho Man called Nash a monkey and said that he wasn't even in his league, and the champion casually called the woman trash and ran away. The champion was very smart. I mean, why would you get dirty over fighting? He made some demands that were met, and it got to a point where Nash wanted Savage to get on his knees, and he did. The bag started moving all of a sudden, and a woman, I don't know how the hell she fit in, managed to grab that bucket and drop it on the Macho Man, and it was a cool moment. I don't think anybody in the arena even sensed something ridiculous like that going down, and it just made for a nice visual. Later that night, Kevin Nash was convinced to enter a limousine with the woman, and it was pretty easy to learn. They had alcohol, they were women, and it was a limousine. I mean, Kevin Nash loves those three things. It also kept him away from the arena, but it turns out this was a setup which made him look dumb, and a white Hummer emerged from out of nowhere and repeatedly rammed the limousine. The hell? So after getting whatever that was poured on him, Savage tries killing him. Did I miss half of the story or something? And he came out without any remorse or any worry over what he had done. Nash ended up responding on the phone, talking nonsense on Thunder, and their match at the Great American Bash was very unpleasant. The way Nash came out, you'd think someone blasted him with a steel chair. He was of course hurting, but not to the extent of someone involved in a car crash. He started off hot, but as time went on, Savage and the ladies were kicking him where it hurts. I should also note the elbow was reinstated. The woman continued interfering, and Savage finally hit the elbow, but the champion was resilient. He fought back and connected with a boot, and he was ready to wrap it up, but Medusa, Gorgeous George, and Miss Madness did something. They wasted time because Nash had all the momentum, and that would go south though when the Hummer driver, at least on paper, Sid Vicious, returned and dropped the champion with a powerbomb. The commentary believed it was he, but since this was WCW 1999, logic is thrown out the window. The match itself was bad. Savage was not the same Macho Man everyone knew. His offense was literally jobber offense, stomps, strikes, and it was just forgettable action. Nash, of course, wasn't going to do much here because, well, it's expected. And when you have these two in the ring, especially in the form they had, or the mindset, yeah, it was going to be bad. It also didn't help that the match ended by disqualification. Sid's return, on the other hand, was shocking at the time. He had been doing stuff in ECW, and his return provided a decent platform, as he could have been the man who rammed the Hummer into the limousine. But that wasn't the case. The next night on Nitro, Savage claimed that last night was an injustice, talking about how he should be the champion, and even said that politics do exist. Nash, meanwhile, was ready for a fight and was even willing to defend the title against Sid. He accepted the challenge, and if anything, asked if Nash could take it. Oh, look who it is. This is the late 90s, meaning this match wasn't going to last long, and if anything, that's a good thing for these circumstances. Instead of Sid coming out, the Macho Man decided to ask for the title belt. Why? Because he pinned Nash 1-2-3 the previous night. This turned into a match between the two. The woman interfered, and Sid comes in for the save, leading to the DQ. Nash's entrance was longer than the match. Goldberg chants intensifies. The two are ganging up on the champion. The speaker sounds like they're blowing up, and Sting finally made the save to send the heels running. Kicking off Nitro in the Superdome, the Savage crew arrived to the arena in a Hummer. Nash arrived seconds later and failed to catch the vehicle, and the black Hummer was the topic of discussion throughout the show. And speaking about the show, Savage and Sid caused chaos. Kidman and Psychosis took a huge beating before Sting ran out there. Kevin Nash all of a sudden came out with a bunch of questions. Why did these two leave without fighting? Why did Sting exit a black Hummer and grab Rick Steiner? And the Stinger, though, straight up answered the question. He said, I was not driving the Hummer. The champion let him know that if it does end up being him, well, he's coming after him. Soon enough, it was confirmed that at Bash at the Beach, it was going to be Sting and Kevin Nash against Sid Vicious and the Macho Man Randy Savage. On Thunder, Nash claimed that WCW hated him and wanted to screw him over at every chance they got. That's why Sid's here. Hell, he even accused Sting of being the Hummer driver. Sting's the WCW franchise boy, and they want the title on him. Meanwhile, Sid and Savage were destroying anybody in their way. Even the referees took a beating. At the same time, the issues were piling up for Big Sexy. He was forced to face Flair. David Flair for that title. Hell, they were throwing everything against Nash in order to ensure David is champion. It was going to be a lumberjack match, and the lumberjacks were all people Nash had a history with. Nash knew that he's got no ally. Scott Hall's in Florida, leaving him alone, and then he made an offer. He said that he'll defend the title, but if he wins, he gets Tori for 72 hours. I mean, who said Tori accepts? He said that 30 days is unnecessary, as 72 hours will ruin her. Whoa. Fast forward to the end of the night, everyone who hates Nash is here. Arn Anderson was the referee, the Lumberjacks were interfering, and all David Flair had to do was finish the job. Unfortunately for him, the nepotism card didn't work here, and after getting his hands on a taser, the match was over. Nash was a menace, and he was even ready to taste Gorgeous George. Stories like that 72 hours is going to be special, but Nash's night took a turn after he saw the Hummer, and the driver was somebody he suspected, Sting. Savage also stole his WCW title, so he decided to abduct Gorgeous George. At this point, Nash had the edge though, and agreed to meet up with Savage near a phone booth. The Macho Man was going absolutely insane, and it didn't help that Nash wanted him on a leash. He was basically treating him like nothing. Oh, you do what I say, yada yada yada. He was mostly nonchalant to the situation, feeling that Savage was more in need of Gorgeous George than he is of the title. A while later, they meet up. Savage is frantically awaiting his girl to exit the vehicle. Nash is very composed, but then Sid kicks up the intensity, and from out of nowhere, Sting, or a Sting lookalike, whacks the champion with a 2x4. The deal didn't go down, and Nash was beaten and battered. This is about as bad as what the Macho Man saw when he unveiled the masked woman. It was Tori who then started talking like she knew Nash for years. Oh, Nash is smart. He wasn't going to be stupid. Yada, yada, yada. On Nitro, Nash was still messing with Savage, and he was set to defend the title in the main event. They have the match. The Macho Man gets rid of the girls because Kevin threatened him with Gorgeous George. He's like, oh, you're never going to see her again, or something along the lines of that. The main event goes the same way you expect it to. All of a sudden, fake Sting runs in. Nash is at a disadvantage, but the real Sting makes a save. Nash thanks him for the help with a jackknife powerbomb. It was clearly unbeknownst to him that Sting was helping him. The champion told Savage that his woman is in the dressing room, and he runs in there and the man was abusive. Tori no-sold the slap. He goes insane once he saw the Kevin Nash short Gorgeous George was wearing. Damn. He looked absolutely menacing, and that moment felt very dark. WCW did catch some heat for it because the company perceives himself to be above the WWF's raunchiness. It garnered them some controversy. The man randomly slapped her. Why? Was it because she laughed? Was he trying to show off he's this bad character? Nobody knows, but at the end of the day, that was not planned. That's one thing to know. Some people believe that because Tori was no-selling it because she was a new talent to the business, Savage is trying to, get her in character. I don't know. But at the end of the day, the Macho Man was in a bad place because of this. It's basically domestic violence. It's dragging Gorgeous George around. She's screaming in the background. And as a result of this, Savage didn't appear on Thunder. So basically, most of the segment was unplanned. Meanwhile, the WCW champion decided to make a bizarre decision. He wanted to defend his title in a tag team match. Basically, if Sting pins Sid or Macho Man, he wins the title. Why are the rules like this? I don't know, but they did the match. With regards to Bash at the Beach, this match was dull. Gorgeous George had marks below her eyes to sell what had occurred, apparently. The action was just it kind of picked up near the end, but it wasn't good. Nash at one point had Savage for the jackknife when Gorgeous George comes in and screws up a low blow. That was hilarious. She goes for it and Savage hits the elbow. 1, 2, 3. The Macho Man was finally champion. Gorgeous George was just playing with Big Sexy, and if you didn't know any better, you'd think that Vince Russo was booking the show with this swerve. This was Savage's 4th WCW title reign, and it turned out to be a very short one. The next night on Nitro, Hollywood Hulk Hogan made his return as a babyface and wanted a title match. Savage didn't like him, so the match was official. Fast forward to the end of the night, Kevin Nash interferes in the match, gets a jackknife powerbomb, and Hogan once again wins the title from Savage. Every time the Macho Man finds success, Hogan's in the background. It's always like that. The former champion welcomed Hollywood back and issued a challenge. He wanted a match and said that there's going to be no laying down, none of that. Hogan accepted and the match was on. Nash was very aggressive in the build-up to the match and was leading towards a heel turn. He claimed that it was business initially, but it was more than that. What's funny about this is that at this point, Nash became buddy-buddy with Sid, even though he was one of the men who conspired to destroy him with a Hummer. Is what Hogan did to him worse than that? Macho Man, on the other hand, was busy with Dennis Rodman, of all people, who's being paid $2 million for this, and at one point, didn't even show up for Nitro. Why? Because he's Dennis Rodman. He gets to do whatever the hell he wants. On the other side, Nash and Hogan were set to face off in a career versus career match for Road Wild. The main event itself was forgettable. Hogan was still 99 overall after all these years. And with the red and yellow, his stats were boosted tenfold. Man took a jackknife, kicked out at 2 and got up and easily dropped Nash for the victory. So now, Kevin Nash was gone from WCW, at least in storyline, because he was clearly going to come back. Lex Luger made his return and didn't feel positive towards Hogan telling Sting not to trust him. Because at this point, Sting was the #1 contender, I believe. And Hogan was the good guy. He was back to being his old self. Hollywood was good now, and after a couple of heels interfered in their main event, he wanted to give him another title shot. Luger, though, went looking through some of Hogan's stuff and found something huge. Apparently, to him, this proof was going to show that Hollywood Hogan was not the good person he was claiming to be recently. Fast forward to later that night, Luger calls out Sting, and he's ready to see the proof. Apparently, Hulk Hogan was the white Hummer driver, and the proof was this picture. The funniest part to me about this is the fact that Sting somewhat believed it. I mean, it's a damn Hummer. They made it seem like the car was rare or something. If you had money, if you're rich at the time, you're more likely to buy a Hummer. At this point, Nash is gone. Savage is elsewhere, and this was the big story. At the end of the night, Sting wants to enter Hogan's locker room, and there's Randy Savage. So basically, they're teasing and they're showing that Hulk Hogan's possibly the guy. Hogan responded and gave a rebuttal saying he drives a black Hummer, and that picture was false. It is a white Hummer, but he never drove it. I don't know why he didn't mention that it's common to have a white Hummer. Then Sting turned heel, believing Hogan was a driver, and with the help of Lex Luger, captured the title. They barely mentioned the story from here on. Vince Russo took control of WCW. Chris Benoit won the title, left the next night. All that happened. Then, on the April 10, 2000 episode of Nitro, one of the most memorable episodes of Nitro, the episode where they reset everything, Hulk Hogan's fuming over Billy Kidman and Eric Bischoff, and by God, it's the white Hummer. Hogan in the limo was being rammed several times, and emerging from the limo was Eric Bischoff, the same man that helped Kevin Nash win the title in the first place, and so ends one of the most drawn-out nothing storylines from WCW. This would become the norm as plenty of storylines were teased and dropped for no reasons. From this storyline, you get the Macho Man and somebody conspiring to take out Kevin Nash. They drop the Hummer thing. Luger accuses Hogan of being the driver just because he had a Hummer, and Sting believes him. WCW had no plans, and Eric Bischoff himself confirmed this on 83 Weeks back in 2019. Here's the truth, and seeing it again made me kind of jog my memory in a different way than just talking about it. There was no plan. It was a stunt. It was kind of like a one-off, and it was designed to put fear and possibly injure Kevin Nash going into his match. It was just a storytelling device and as a way to raise the stakes in that particular story. There was never a plan to have a secret person behind the wheel. It just wasn't. It was a hit and run, set up of course by Savage. The funny part is they started teasing the driver over the next few weeks. As for who it could have possibly been, well, the rumors are ridiculous. Sable. fresh off leaving the WWF as a possible candidate. Hell, she even appeared in the crowd for a couple of weeks, but the problem was she had a contract dispute with the WWF, and after WCW's legal problems with the promotion, it's better to do nothing. Another name is Carmen Electra. If this was 2000 WCW, Mark Madden would have been screaming and shouting her name, and what's even crazier is the fact that Sid was right there. He could have been the driver, but they didn't go with him. So, at the end of the day, this was a nothing storyline. It was literally the opposite of the Stone Cold hit and run that occurred later that year. It was clearly supposed to lead to something because they were teasing the driver, they're teasing the reveal and all that. So it was leading to something. They just had no idea how to end it, basically. So that's why Eric Bischoff randomly emerged in April of 2000. Alright, what do you guys think of the White Hummer? Please comment down below. And that's it for this video. Make sure you hit the jackknife powerbomb on the like button and perhaps the elbow on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.